Google Sites works directly with your Google Drive. So it's nice because anything that you create is automatically going to be in Drive. So you'll be able to find it. You can organize it in folders, things like that. So that's a nice feature to have. Um, so when you create, there are two different ways that you can create your Google site. So one is using the new button. So very simple, that's how we create our new documents, slides, etc. So I can go to new, I can go to new, I can go to more, and you will see Google Sites in here. The other way that I can go through and create a Google site is using my app launcher, and I can find my sites icon. So, and remember, these can be moved, so yours might not be in the same location as mine. So either one is going to allow you to create a new site. So I'm just going to go through the app. For those of you that maybe have tried this a few years ago, you might get this screen. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. If you're seeing this screen, you will see the new Google Sites. So it's not new anymore. It's probably been around for maybe 2 or 3 years now. But if you had ever created anything in the classic sites, it will take you to the screen first. So I just wanted to point that out to you. So in the new Google Sites, it looks like this. So anything that you have created in the past will show up here. And anything that you have opened is going to show up here as well. So you're going to see different things that I've created and maybe that I've opened or used. So you can see some that I've opened. So very similar to a Google document or slideshow, you also have some templates that you can start with, but we are going to start with blank. So we're just going to start from scratch to make sure that you understand how to create from scratch and what all the components you can have. And I will tell you, I do have a handout for you guys that I'll share in the chat. And I updated this in February and it's already out of date. So um, you know, so they're constantly adding stuff to the Google site. So it's nice. So we'll go through some of those things that you might be using with your class. So I'm going to click on blank. So this is my Google site. By default, it's going to default to this theme. So it's kind of got that gray background. Your page title is what your page is going to be. So that might be your classroom name, math, something like your subject name, things like that. And then you have two other things that we're going to look at over here. So we're going to kind of come down and get all these things addressed. So the first thing right here at the top where it says Untitled Site, this is the name that you are going to see in your Google Drive. So don't just put homepage, because if you have a Google site created for math and you have a Google site created for algebra, you're not going to know which one's which if you just call it homepage. So you want to name it something that is going to be meaningful for you in your Google Drive. So since it is a Lunch and Learn, I'm going to call mine Lunch and Learn. So that is what I'll see in my Google Drive. Also, when I click here where it says enter site name, you'll see that it's going to take whatever name that I put in there for my website, and it's going to put it in here. This Lunch and Learn will be available on every page that you create, and it will take you back to the home page. So it's kind of important. Now, can these be different? Yes, they can. So I might want to call this Lunch and Learn and then put the date, 7/2/20. And it's not going to change this, but it does kind of help you as you're creating, so those two things are the same. So I'm going to switch back to my drive real quick so you can see as I'm creating, here is the way that I will get back to my site. So it automatically shows up in your file list just like any other document, slideshow, whatever you create. So now let's title our page. So this is going to be my home page for my Lunch and Learn website. So how are you going to name this? So depending on who you're making the Google site for will determine what you're going to call this. So if I'm using this for my classroom, I might call it Mrs. Baltic's 5th grade class. If I'm using it for um, uh, the whole sixth grade site. Maybe it's information for their camp trip, things like that. I might call it, you know, TCCSA sixth grade, or, you know, whatever it might be. But this is going to be the home page for your website. So I'm just going to call this the same as I called the other two, and I'm going to call it Lunch and Learn. So you'll see with creating in your banner, you don't have a whole lot of formatting options. You don't have to know any HTML to work in Google Sites, but it is basic. So with it being basic, that means any browser, any device, any tablet is going to be able to open this and show the correct um, text, formatting, etc. So you'll see here, by default, it picks the title text because that's the largest. Notice it doesn't give you sizes, it just gives you options. So your normal text, title text, etc. I can make it bold or italic. So if I want to make this bold, I can. I can change the alignment just like I would. I can also add a hyperlink to it. So if I wanted to hyperlink this to our event scheduler page, I can type in a hyperlink. And then if I made all kinds of changes and I'm not sure, I can always clear the formatting. Also, each of these, this is just standard. This is how a Google site is created, but I can move these things around. You can see right at the top, is there 8 little dots, 10 little dots? That allows me to move it in different locations on my banner. So if I need to move it, I can move it. I can also resize by using the resizing handles. So if I want to squish it together, I can do that. Okay, or I can extend it out if it's a longer one. Okay. So a question is, would this be better to use than the school web page? So depending on your schools, um, you can use this for your classroom webpage. I don't know if any district would actually go this route for a district webpage, but I know some districts want their teachers to have classroom web pages. So you would give the link. So once you publish it, there'll be a little link up here, and you would be able to give that link to whoever manages the main page so that it would link to that from the district website. So it could be used. I know several districts that the teachers use these for their classroom web pages. So I'm still talking about this banner. So I know a lot of this seems like design and you can spend tons of time on it. And yes, you could, but you want to make it look good and you want to make sure that it's set how you want. So we're going to look at this header type. So by default, it creates what is called a large banner. A lot of these websites are going to this um, this large banner. So like as soon as you log into their site, you're seeing pictures and you're not seeing any text. So the large banner expands it. The regular banner, title only takes away all that banner background. And then if I chose cover, it's my entire page. So as soon as I would log in, it would be full. So we're just going to leave it on banner. So those are those options. Now it says choose an image or change the image. So you have two options. You have upload or you have select image. So if I click on upload, this is going to allow me to upload something from my computer. So if I had something saved in here in my pictures, I can pick something for my banner. The other option I have is to select an image, and you will notice that it has some in its own gallery, so you can pick the preset ones. You can search, so if you had something that you found in Google Photos, or I'm sorry, in Google Images, you can put the URL here. You can search for a specific topic, so if you are using math, you might want a math banner. Your album, so this is anything that you have saved that you would have in your Google Photos, and then Google Drive. It's going to search for images only. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to pick something from the gallery. So once I pick something from the gallery, this image is going to be applied to all my new pages. So you'll see here in the bottom that there's something that's called readability. And do you guys see that change in front of you? So what it does, the adjust readability allows you to pick any type of banner and it will automatically adjust the brightness of the image so that you can clearly see your title. So you can hardly see it in the corner here, but if I turn it off, it's going to go back to the original picture and you can see that it's hard to read, especially up here in the corner. That is hard to read. So if you leave on the adjust for readability, it's automatically going to alter the brightness of that image for you. If you don't like it, you can always click on reset to go back to the default. Now, I know some of you were in the Google Drawings class where you can make banners yourself. This is also where you can select your image. So you can select it, or if you've downloaded it, you can upload it here. Okay. So next, let's start looking at our section down here. So each web page is broken up into different sections. So I can add multiple things into a section. So we're going to look at these 4 things right here. So these are probably, I'll say a couple of these are our popular ones. So the first one obviously is your text box. So when you're looking at your text box, you can see that it creates a text box across the entire page. So you might want that, you might not want that. So if I need to shorten it, I can adjust and you'll see that it has, and I don't know if you guys can see that on your screen doing a screen share, but there's little lines. So it only allows you to go into certain areas when you're adjusting it. So it will adjust to the closest marker so that it'll line that up. So I can have multiple text boxes. I can keep creating them and it's going to keep producing new text boxes. So if I click on this again, watch what happens. So maybe I want to include 3 different things here, but if I click on text box, it's automatically creating a new section. So, so this is my section 2. So I want this to be next to my other text. So what I can do is once I create it, then I can move it. So when you use any of these buttons over here on the side, it automatically makes it in a new section. Okay, same with my image. So if I click on image, you're going to see those same 2 options as you did with your banner. I can upload from my computer or I can select one from Drive and or searching. So I'm just going to upload one. So you'll see it automatically puts it below my text. But if I'm trying to make different columns, now I can click and hold and I can drag it into that same section. Okay, and you can see that one I didn't adjust, so now I can make it so it's a little bit bigger. So it does allow you to do different things within your section once you've created some of these items. You'll also see that with my image, I have different things such as how to crop. I can uncrop or I can link my image. So I can link the image to a website or I can get rid of it. So this is my section that I created with 3 different items within it. I can create another section. Just by using one of these, it will automatically create. So I'm going to create just a text box so you can see my different sections. And as I hover over them, you're going to see 3 little buttons on the left-hand side. So one, it allows you to color your section. So I'm going to tell you to be kind of calm with this. They don't give you a lot of choices. So it picks the colors based on the theme that you have, and we have not talked about themes yet. So you'll see I have two different emphasis colors. or I can upload an image. I've had a lot of people put a lot of images in there, and then it's really hard to see the information that you want on the website. So just be cautious with that. But I've seen people kind of change each section. One might be blue, the next is white, and then blue. So you can alter colors like that. If you need to get rid of a section, you can click on the delete, and that will remove it. If I'm working on this and I'm like, oh, I like how that's set up, I want the 3 columns and I want that for my next section, I can also duplicate it. And you'll see it's going to produce it again, but then I can make modifications here. And then maybe this is my section 3. Okay, so a couple questions. So I'm going to look at the chat here for a second. Okay, so one of the questions was that I have a Google site, but it's not in the sites button under my hamburger menu. Was your Google site, and this was Mabel, was your Google site an older, it created in the Classic? Because if it was created in the Classic, it will not show in your Google Drive. Only new Google sites will show in your Google Drive, and it should be listed there. You might have to scroll down. It might be underneath the template pieces. So you should be able to see it here. If you're not seeing it there, I would say just search in your Google Drive, or you can search up here if you know what the name of your site was. What is the advantage of using this over Google Classroom? Well, the only thing with this is you are not sharing documents back and forth between students. This is more informational. I can post, and I haven't gotten to that insert yet, but I can post documents here. I can put links to Google Forms here, but I can put a link to force a student to make a copy of a document, um, but it's not going to automatically share it back with me like Classroom would. So Classroom is still your main area if you are going to be working with documents and sharing back and forth with your students. This again would be more informational, whether it's for your students and or your parents. So you can also use this for different activities. So you might have a bunch of links, kind of like what we used to call web quests. You might have a bunch of links that are on here for students to use. Um, so there's different ways or reasons that you would use this. Maybe you're a coach and you're going to use this and include maps to different schools, to different locations that you're going to have some competitions. You might want this to include your calendar and or videos for your students. So different things that it will be that you would create this for versus using Google Classroom. Now, in Google Classroom, could you put a link to your website? Of course you could. So you can put it as material and or an announcement and include your website so students can easily access it. Okay. Okay, good, found it. Okay. Yes, so I will be showing you how to add those Google Calendars in there. That it is a nice thing to add. You can also add your Google Calendars into, and this is a total change of subject, but you can also add those into Progress Book, into Parent Access. So I will be showing that on the Google, uh, the Gradebook tips. So, but yes, I will be showing that. So this is, again, remember, parents can't get into Google Classroom, but you can make this open so parents can get to this. So if you're using due dates in Google Classroom and you post your calendar here for parents to see, that's one way that they can access and see what is up and coming for your students. Yes, it's like a web page for your teachers, and like I said, some districts require um, teachers to have a classroom web page, even if it just has like their name and contact information. But again, this is a way that parents can see the information and maybe be able to contact you or have access to a form or a calendar, etc. So let's keep looking at some of these things that we can insert. So we're just using our insert tool here and we're looking at these first four. So remember, anytime that I add any of these, it's automatically going to create a new section. So I'm going to click on Google Drive. So this allows me to add anything from my Google Drive. Now, I want you to be extremely careful with this and always double check your work, because when you are attaching an item from your Google Drive, you have to make sure that the share settings for that document are open. So either anyone with the link can view or public. So those two will allow anybody to view those documents. If you leave it on private, it will not allow others to see this. Okay, so if I have something that I want to post, so I have information and I want to post this, so I am going to click on my item and I am going to say insert. Now you'll notice that it created a whole new section, and then it creates a thumbnail, actually a large thumbnail of my document. So I can actually size this so my document is completely visible for someone to see the entire document, or I can shrink it down into a teeny tiny thumbnail so that people can click on it and see it. Okay. So, and you will notice that there's a little button here that allows it to open up in a new tab. So even when it is published or viewable on the web, they will be able to open up this and see it full screen. So again, share settings have to be set correctly in order for documents, slides, etc., to open up. So those are your insert. I'm not going to talk about embedding because that would be using the embed code. So that's a more advanced part. We're going to skip that today. But what I want to talk to you about is these inserts are also available if I double click. So if I double click anywhere in my Google site, you're going to see that those items are going to develop. So here's my text. Here is my embed that we didn't discuss. Here's my Google Drive. And then there's two options. Here's my image and my upload image. It's separated these two. So if I click here, this little drop down menu comes up. But if I double click, they're separated. So what's the difference between using the insert tab on the side or you double click and use this wheel? If I use the wheel, if I click on text box, notice it puts the text box in the same section. Okay, so that's the difference. So if I double click again, and now I want to insert, I'll insert more text. It's again, same section. Okay, so that's the difference between choosing these and double clicking. So you can do like I did, I created and then I had to move it where I wanted it to go. That's completely fine. All of these items are completely movable. So I can move them wherever I need. But if I know that I want 3 different columns, I can just double click, oops, and then I can create the new column. So Jenny, yes, we are going to get to that. About tabs, I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can kind of have a navigation bar. So we will get to that. So Kendra's question was, would you have one of these for each of your classes? You would probably have one main one. So like we would call this lunch and learn. Then I might have a page for each of our lunch and learns that we have with resources on them. So you might have the same, you might have one called Mrs. Baltic's webpage or homepage, and then have one for math, one for algebra, one for geometry, and it's going to create a navigation bar for you. Could you create one for each subject? You could. That's just a lot more to maintain in different links. I would probably go the route of making pages within one website for your different subjects. Okay, so let's stop there with some of these items. Yes, there's a lot more that we need to go through, but let's look at some of these pages and themes and other things that we can do with this. So if I click on pages, this is how I navigate through my system. So for example, maybe I want to create a resource page that we're going to put links on there of all the documents that we've handed out through Lunch and Learn. So you'll see down at the bottom, I have two different options. So it's a plus. When I hover over it, I get two options. I get new link and I get new page. Let's start with the new link. So I want people, when they come here, I want them to be able to register. So I'm going to type, oops, wrong spot. I'm going to type right here where it says name. I want it to say online registration. And then I'm going to link this to our event scheduler page. And then I'm going to say done. So watch the top of my screen right here in the upper right. So as soon as I hit done, notice it started my navigation bar. I didn't have to do anything except say, hey, I want a link that says online registration. So it's automatically creating my home button for me. And then now it's going to start that navigation with my first link. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a page. So in this page, I want it called resources. So once I click on resources, now you'll see my navigation bar is going to change. Okay, so now I have these two items, and you can see over here on the side, I'm building my website. I have my home page, I have my resource page, and I have a link. So same thing on my page, I can do the same things that I did on my home page. I can change the header type. I can change the image if I want. Notice that my second page took the same image as my home page. It will do that as you keep creating additional pages, but if I want to change a page individually, I can come here and change one page. Okay, but the rest of my pages would continue to have this computer background as it did on my home page. So I can also, within my resources, so I'm on my resource page, I can also click on the three little dots, and I can also say add a sub page. So if I click on sub page, maybe I am going to put, we'll do Google Meet. I'm going to say done. And then I also want to add another sub page, and I'm going to call this Zoom. So now you can see that I have all these pages, but when I look at my navigation bar, notice it's compacting them into kind of like a sub menu. So as I hover over that, I can go to these different pages based on my drop down from my resources. If I need to rearrange anything, I just click on it and I can rearrange. If I want my online registration right after my home page, see how I have the blue line there? And then as soon as I let go, it's going to rearrange my navigation and it'll rearrange my pages panel. If I have something and I'm like, ooh, you know what, Zoom should not be in the resource page, I want it separate, I can just click and hold. And then you can see I can drag it to the side and it's going to, why are you not coming out? Okay, so then it brings it out. So now you can see I have my navigation across the top. My Google Meet is within my resources and my Zoom is separate. Now, if I want to bring it back into my resources, you can see that how the line comes into resources, so it moved it back within there. Okay. If you need by any chance to rename anything, you can click on the three little dots. You can duplicate a page. So if you set up something and you're like, ooh, yeah, I want it set up like that for my next page, you can duplicate. You can also hide this. So maybe I'm working on this section. So I can hide this from navigation, which means nobody else is going to see it except for you while you're working on it. So instead of putting a message on here, page under construction, you can just come here and you can say hide from navigation. And then you'll see those little lines through it, which means nobody else is going to see it. Notice it takes it out of the navigation bar, but you can still work on it as needed. So what are my options for my navigation bar? It automatically created it across the top, but you'll notice as I hover over the navigation area, I get this little settings cog on the side. So if I click on that, it is going to bring up my navigation setting and say, okay, what kind of navigation do you want? Do you want it to be at the top like it is? Or my other option is to have it on the side. So, and then you'll see it automatically made that pancake menu. So if I close that, you'll now see the pancake menu. I can click on it. It's going to open up my navigation, close it, and I'll see the pancake menu. Okay. And then I'm going to unhide these so we can see those in the navigation. Oops. Okay. So there we go. So then you can see the additional resources. And I like mine across the top, so I am going to change it back to the top, but you'll also notice if you want to set a color. So if I want it all white or all black, or I can leave it transparent and it's going to take the background that you have selected. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat and see what's in there. So Jenny, I'm hoping that answered a couple of your questions. I'm going to show you one other option that you can do for navigation that might help you as well. So is it possible for several teachers to access this? Yes. So you have a couple options, and I usually show this at the end, but since Carla brought it up, I will show it right now. So you have two options when you are creating a Google site. You have your collaboration share setting, and you also have your, which they call draft. So your draft setting, and then you also have your published settings. So I'm going to click here on my little share guy. You've seen this in different places. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to be broken down into two areas. So the first one is who are you going to share it with? So in Carla's case, if she wants multiple teachers. So I know, for example, one district, they have this for their sixth grade team. So all the sixth grade teachers are a part of this. So if I add a name here, I can add my names and then they can collaborate and edit this document. So if I want to add myself, you'll see I can add, and it's going to go into my shared with me just like any other document. And you'll see right here that it's an editor. Okay, so that allows me to edit. Down here at the bottom is other options. So these would be the links that you would have. So who are you going to allow to see the drafts? Okay, and then once it's published, who can see the published site? By default, nobody can see your draft. So when you're working on it, nobody's going to see it until it's published unless you invite them at the top. Okay, I would not suggest changing this to anyone with the link because that means anyone with the link can edit your website. You don't want that. So it is good to keep this one as default, and then anyone you want to help you with it, you would add their names here. This one is the tricky one. So who do you want to see this? Some schools, and I'm not sure exactly which districts, but some of our districts have this restricted so they can't be published outside of your domain. So what does that mean? That means the students have to be logged in with their Google account. So I'm going to use Ashland as an example. If a kid goes to their parent's computer and they're not signed into Google, but they go to your website, they can't access it. They would have to sign into Google with their Go arrows, and then they would be able to access it. So how can you resolve that? You can change it to making it public. So if I made it public, anyone on the internet can find and open it. as a viewer, so they can't edit it. Okay. And then your other is restricted. That would be only the people um, that you put above. So some teachers have used this publish restricted with students. So it doesn't go outside of the district. They're only sharing it between the student and the teacher. So they have them create a website with, multiple different things on there, and then the student shares it with them here. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to make that back to public. Okay. Okay, so let's look at themes real quick. So looking at themes, so themes are colors and font styles for your website. And like I said, there's not a ton of changes, not a ton of options, but this is how you can kind of color it how you want. So by default, it's that gray, and it's just got the normal sans serif font. So you can see here is my simple. If I want to pick pink, it's going to have pink themes as you're adding things. Your font style, oops, and I changed. So let's go back to there. Your font style, you can see I only have 3 different options that to go through my entire website. If I pick something else, such as Aristotle, you'll see it has this little line underneath the titles, and then I can pick the line color, and that would carry out through your entire website. Okay, not just this page, it's your entire website. Okay, so same thing with here. If I wanted to have the solid bar, I can include that as well. So again, each of them allows you to pick the theme, a color, and a font style. And again, not a whole lot of choices, but the themes carry out through the entire web page or website. Okay. Lisa, to your question, you were talking about here. So if I share with myself, if you are just sharing between you and a student, you can do the published viewer, but they can't edit. So if you are working with other teachers that are going to help you create this website, you're going to want to leave them as editor. So just think of it as view and edit. So if you are restricting it to only who you've shared it with, you could put it as just view. If you want somebody to make changes or help you update it, then leave them as editor. Yes, yes, you can still make the changes if you just list them as the viewer. Okay, so let's look at a few more things here going down our list. I'm just going to stay on the Zoom screen so you guys can see. So these layouts, they're exactly what they say. So if you see here, it's just set up in different formats for you to be able to add images and or text. So maybe you want to display student of the month and a few pictures of students. So maybe I'll click on this one, and you'll see it automatically adds the placeholders for you. So you can see I can click on the add, and it's going to allow you to add what you need, and it's going to fill it in this square. So whether it's an image, whether it's a Google document, whether it's a YouTube video, it will automatically adjust it to fit in the square. Okay. Then below the square, I have text options. So I have larger text. So if I want to put the student's name, or if I want to put student of the month, I can type that there and then put the name below it, and this is smaller text. Okay, so those layouts are, it pre-populates the placeholders for you to be able to have things lined up and so forth. If I click on another one, it's going to create a whole new section below it and keep going. So once you apply it, if you don't want it, just delete it. Okay. So a couple of these are, I'm not going to go through every single one, but a couple of them are cool to be able to use, such as collapsible text. So let's put summer reading. So this is going to be the main heading that the students would see on the screen. But then when they click on it, it will display larger amounts of text. So you could put, different paragraphs, things like that, so that when the students see it, they're just going to see summer reading. They're going to see the drop down. Once they click on it, the other text is going to display. So it kind of saves some room. You like I said, maybe I'm going to put a class. I can put a class name here. So maybe this is my intro to Google Slides. We'll do that one. So, or we're doing sites, sorry. And then my display text, this would be my class description, blah, 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 blah. So maybe on here, I'm going to have 10 different classes, but if I had the class name and the description, that's going to take up a lot of room. So now as they're navigating through it, they would just click and they would see the class description. And if you don't like it, you can delete it and it's going to remove both of them. Image carousel. You probably see these a lot on school web pages. This is where the pictures go through and you can see them, the multiple images. So I know a lot of our school home pages have the carousels. So if I click on that, it's going to ask me to at least include 2 images. So right here it says must have at least 2 images. So I'm going to click on this. I can upload from my computer or I can select from my Google Drive. So I'm going to say upload and I'm just going to include, and I'm going to use my control key so I can include multiples. Can you guys tell I change my Bitmoji often? Okay, so once I select all these, I'm going to say open. They're going to populate. And then it's going to insert them just like it would a single image. So it's just going to be the spot of one image. You can see here, I can resize it, move it around as needed. So when I'm looking at it, if I need to modify any of my images, I can, or remove them as needed. Notice I can add text too. So if you have students that have websites read to you, you can add text. And then I can show here. So in my carousel, do you want to see the dots at the bottom? It's pretty helpful. Do you want any captions? And do you want it to automatically move through the carousel? So if you say yes, then it's going to ask you what speed. So, and you'll see you don't have many choices, slow, medium, fast. Okay. So when I say update, it's going to update this. And if I was previewing, so I'm going to show you where preview is now. If I click on my preview button, it's the computer screen with the little phone in it. It's not the eyeball when you're looking here. So you'll see that it's automatically going through my images. And you'll see, like I said, a lot of times, I'm going to come back here in a second. And a lot of times you will see these up in the banner area. So I know like Ashland City has it, several schools have it. So you can see how I can overlay actually over my banner. So then when they come in to the website, the images are just going to start flowing. So while I'm in preview, I want to show you a couple things. So Google Sites automatically adjusts your website so that it will work with any type of device. So you can see by default, it takes me to the laptop screen or large screen. So if you're using a computer monitor, it's going to adjust for a larger screen. If I'm using some type of tablet, maybe even a convertible from a Chromebook to a tablet, a iPad, things like that, I can use tablet mode. So you can see it shrinks it down. It kind of makes it, a little bit more narrow. And then of course, phone. If I am using this with the cell phone, what's it going to look like on there? So you can see it automatically adjusts the pictures for me and where my title is placed. So it will automatically do that for you once it is published. So once you X out of there, it brings you back to edit mode. So the next thing I want to show you is buttons. Some people like the navigation here, but then some people want to have multiple multiple subjects in one website. So maybe you don't want to use this navigation. There's something called buttons. So if I insert a button, so this might be for my algebra class, and then I could link it to whatever I need it to link to. So if I have a different page on here, I can link it to a page, or I can link it to a website. And then I'm going to say insert. So you can see now it created a button for me. It's filled in, and then I can create another one. So same thing, this is going to be my geometry class. And then I can put a different link here. So if this, and I'm going to say it goes to this page in my website. So you can see it, put it next to it. So I can keep going down if I want to have a vertical navigation, or I can just click on it and move it up so it's next to it. And then I can create them across the top. So it's kind of like I have my navigation here, but then I have a secondary navigation here. So those can be very useful. So a divider, this is just going to go in between sections. That's just a horizontal line. Can't really do a whole lot with that except insert it and or delete it. So it's going to carry the color that is based on the theme, which it usually makes it a light gray. YouTube, you can insert any of YouTube videos that you have. So just like in a Google form and or classroom, you can search YouTube right from here. So I always search for Schoolhouse Rocks. So if I want to insert a video, I can hit select and it's going to bring it in here. So, and again, the nice thing is it's not going to have all the additionals on the side and at the bottom, the suggested videos and the comments. However, after the video does play, the suggested videos at the end of the video will populate on the screen. So just be aware of that if you're teaching littles. Calendar, if I have a calendar, notice as soon as I click on calendar, it just brings up all of my calendars. They're just listed alphabetically. So I can go through and pick the one that I need and then insert it in here. So I don't think I have one that has anything on here. We'll try this one, say insert. Okay, so you'll see by default, it goes to agenda view. If you want it to be just a full a calendar of the month, you can change it so it's the month view. So, or you can even do the week view if you just want parents to be able to see week by week. So once I say done, then you can see this. Please note that just like any of your Google documents, same with your Google Calendar, you have to make sure that you are sharing it outside of your domain, because by default, it will stay within your domain. You need to make sure that that is public. Okay, then doc sheets, slides, forms, charts, those are just going to go into your Google Drive. So it was just going to look for docs. So the only thing that's different with this versus going to Drive up here, Drive shows you everything. This just filters out only docs, only slides, only sheets, only forms. It will automatically put the form in the version that is needed to submit. It will not put it in the edit version. And then charts, it's going to look at any of your Google Sheets for any charts that have been populated and just pull out the charts. Okay. So I have one more thing, and I know there's some questions in there, so I'm going to get back to those in just 1 second. The last thing I want to show you is publishing. How are you going to get this site out to others? So we talked about our share settings, but let's look at publishing. So if I click on publish, first thing it's going to do is allow you to name it. What are you going to call this? So you don't have a choice for the beginning part of your website. It is always going to be sites.google.com, / your domain. So my Rittman people, my Northwestern people, Orville people, sorry, yours is going to be very long. So it'll be sites.google.com / mail.rittman.k12.oh.us / whatever you want it to be. So I can customize this as long as it has not been used within my domain. So if Lunch and Learn has already been taken, say Rebecca created a website called Lunch and Learn, then I would not be able to call it that. But it always gives a suggestion based on the title that you've created. Also notice here that who can view my website? Anyone. So if I click on manage, it's going to bring me back to this where I can change it. So if it was restricted to just my domain, I can change it and make it public. But once I am ready, I am going to hit publish. It's going to publish it out to the web. You will also notice that once I publish it, this becomes available. So if I click on that, it is going to allow me to copy my link. And it's going to this will actually give you the link to your specific page. So this page, if I click here, my URL is going to be different. So it's whatever page you're on. So if I copy that, I can go here and paste. And here's my website. And notice I can see my document, but that's because I put it on there. Always go to like a different browser and or guest window and test your website. Test it to make sure all of your links to your documents are available and any of your calendars if you're going to put calendars on there. Okay. And then you'll notice once I have published, I have this little drop down arrow next to my publish. I can go into any of my published settings. If there's been any changes from the last time I published, I can view those changes before I republish, and then I can unpublish. If I click on unpublish, it is like taking it off the web. So nobody will be able to see it. Even if they had it bookmarked, it will say the page is no longer available. So I'm going to unpublish because nobody needs to see my Lunch and Learn. And so now it is unpublished. Nobody can access it. So if I hit paste over here, it says that it's not available. Okay, let me go back through some of these questions. Yes, Kendra, that is a great, yes, this is a great way to get information out to parents. So if at the beginning of the year, if you give out any, like a parent sheet, put your website on there, and then anything that you want them to see throughout the year, include in here, including forms. So you can just include a form right from here. This is going to search all your forms that you have available, and you can add that right in there. So if I click on that and say insert, you're going to see it inserts my form right here. And of course, I picked one that's not accepting responses. So I don't know if I answered that, Kendra, when I was going through the publishing. But again, if I share, this is going to allow who can edit your document. And then down here, you will probably, if you want parents to be able to see it, it's going to be public. You're going to have to make it public. Also note, some districts do not have the ability to make it public. So in that case, it would be restricted to students with their signed in with their Google accounts. I think a lot of them have now opened it up, but there might still be a few out there. Can you add multiple calendars? You can add as many calendars as you want. So you can add, if you have, for example, I had my algebra geometry. So when I go to my algebra page, I can put a calendar. I can go to my geometry page, add a calendar. It will automatically, if you already have your Google Classroom set up, it's automatically going to populate your classes in here. Because as soon as you create a Google Classroom, it automatically generates a calendar. So as long as you are putting due dates on an assignment, it will show up on the calendar. So Nicole, you are Loudonville, so you guys can't share outside the district. So my guess is that you also can't get your site to work outside the district. Um, when you go into your share settings, you'll click where it says links vary, click on change, and where it says published site, you probably do not have the ability to go to public. It's probably just restricted or your domain. So in that case, the students would have to be logged in and parents would not have the ability to view it. So, that would be a setting that the district would have to change.